She says she can't verify your identity for an EIDL loan, but is it because, she can't see through all those scars on her face? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is LALATE. This is EIDL. Our Hot Mess Express lands at offices of SBA on this channel every night at 7:15-ish. I hope you're good and safe. This is Evenings LALATE that starts every night with a check at about 6:45, then goes to EIDL. One of the big questions that viewers still ask, as a lot of people still applying for EIDL loans, is can I get multiple loans if I have different operations? Absolutely yes. And it has always been one of those discussions that people don't talk about except me. Yeah, I just talk about stuff that people just don't want to, uncomfortable about talking. And so that's what this video is going to revisit, which I've done before, as to how you can apply for EIDL loans for different businesses that you own. It's very, very simple. The most common example is the one I'm going to use tonight because that's the one that often causes confusion for viewers. It is where you own a business as an LLC or incorporation. I'm going to use for purposes of the example tonight, Mike's Plumbing LLC. But on the side, Mike is also an Uber Lyft driver, hopefully not in the state of California. And as an Uber Lyft driver, he's paid under his personal name, Mike. And so Mike has Schedule C earnings. So can Mike, the Uber and Lyft driver, I saw an Uber and Lyft driver apply for a loan? And can Mike Plumbing LLC also apply for a loan? Absolutely yes. Let me explain to you the difference, and that's what this video is going to be. Because sometimes when you have two things going on in your life, it sometimes causes confusion for you. And ironically, it also causes sometimes confusion for SBA. Unable to verify business existence or unable to verify identity or multiple applications are sometimes the trigger points of when SBA sees things that are very similar. Fully understand, I have had viewers who own lots of LLCs or lots of incorporations that just have simpler names, like Shotgun USA, Shotgun America, Shotgun New Mexico, Shotgun. It was just over and over and over again. And like, oh, it's the same business. No, it's not, honey. It has different EINs, different this, different that. So you start with the initial separation. When you go to the SBA.gov and apply for an EIDL loan, which is now up to about $150,000, the first thing it's going to ask you is, what is this? Who is applying? When we're talking about Mike the driver, it is, was that his name? I forgot which name I was using for tonight. I've been talking about Nancy so much, this is like, I should just call it Nancy's Plumbing. Mike, if Mike was applying, it would be Mike's name as the applicant, Mike's social security as the bank account, Mike's home address as the location of the business. Very, very, very simple. So, and when you go to the application, the first question it's going to ask is this a business with 500 employees or less? No, that's not you. Is this a self-employed independent contract? Yes, that's you. So that's what Mike would do. When we're talking about the business, Mike's Plumbing LLC, totally different answers. Is this self-employed? No. Well, I own it. No, it doesn't matter. This is what's called a business 500 employees or less. It's literally a business. It's an LLC. It's an incorporated business with the Secretary of State. So the business would apply. You would put the business name, and you would click the button 500 employees or less. Now, this is so important, and this was literally week one of this channel, but I'm going to revisit something so OG that I'm going to plug some gray hairs. When putting the Mike's Business LLC down, make sure it is literally verbatim, including punctuation, capitalization, everything, as to what's on file with the Secretary of State. What happens is that some people think that they can just, paraphrase the name of the business. Oh, it's Mike and Jessica. That's his new girlfriend, LLC. I'm like, no, Secretary of State doesn't know Jessica. You know, it's like a loose scarf that you found, and you're like, oh, okay. No, 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 no. So it has to be literally verbatim what's on there with the Secretary of State. If you don't do that, you're gonna get denied. Why? Because what they do is they do a cross-reference against state files right away, and they see what that thing is, and bam, it's there. Now, what they also do is they cross-reference with the EIN, which is the next step of this analysis. For the Lyft driver, it's going to ask EIN, Social Security, blah, 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 blah. You put Social Security. It's your Social Security. It's not your Mrs.'s Social Security number. It's your Social Security number. Now, for the LLC, it's the EIN of the LLC. Now, I know I'm going to get some crazy questions like this, so I'm going to answer them. My LLC doesn't have an EIN. I'm like, why? My LLC is not incorporated. I'm like, why? Then it's not an LLC. You need to comply with corporate procedures, folks. So, if you haven't, now's the time. We're in 2020, and, Nancy Pelosi is chasing a postman. So you need to comply with corporate procedures. Now, if you don't have an EIN, you can go get one. It's quicker than getting a stimulus check. You just go to the IRS's website, you type in a few questions, you answer a few questions, and you get the EIN at the end of the process about half an hour later. Done. A lot of LLCs don't necessarily have an EIN if they haven't, filed taxes or things like that. But in this case, when you need to provide banking information, which is what I'm coming to next, you probably would have already had an EIN. If you don't, then we have another problem with this application. All right, so the next part is the banking information. What about Mike's bank? Well, it has to be his personal bank. It has to be in his name. Now, I got to tell you, I do know lots of situations where SBA doesn't really care what the bank name is so long as that bank can receive the funds. Let me give you an example. Mike can have a joint account with his sister, Mike and Jessica. And if the bank has it set up that Mike can receive deposits into Mike as Mike's name, then he can receive a check from SBA written to him, even though Mike and Jessica are both on the bank account. It's situations where Mike is just not on the bank account and he gives that bank account to the SBA. Oh, that's just not going to work. So you need to give a bank account that has your name on it, or has, in some regards, doesn't have to be the only name. And that's very simple. Don't mess up the routing number or the bank account number. It's so critical and so obvious, but viewers did that for literally a month. I did a month of videos with, I think you messed up the account number. And they're like, oh, yeah, I did. It's just the most embarrassing thing ever when someone like messes up a few numbers. Oh, yeah, darn. It means you won't get your money. You want to get a scarf. So don't mess it up. Now let's go over to the business. The business is a business account in the business name, and it can't be anything else. So no, you can't have your personal bank account for the business's name. SBA is not going to allow that. They're not going to allow that. So if you give them Mike's personal bank account for Mike's Plumbing LLC, they're not going to allow that. They're not going to. What's going to happen is they're not going to be able to verify that banking account, and they're not going to send the money. And you're going to be really unhappy, more unhappy than, Chuck Schumer on a day when there's no Broadway. But that's that. Now let's turn to the next part. How you calculate your revenue, how you calculate your loan based upon what you provide for revenue versus cost of goods sold. Now, I got to tell you, I get this a lot, and it's a little confusing to me, but I'm going to be very frank with you. There's a lot of Uber and Lyft drivers that say, I didn't drive enough, so I didn't get a 1099, because they don't send a 1099 if you don't drive enough. Okay. Did you file a tax return? Did you pay taxes on the money you made? I'm like, hello, you have to pay taxes on Uber and Lyft driving. What are you doing? And they're like, well, I just started it. Okay, well, go back and fix your tax return right away, because you can't go to SBA for a loan for a thing that they're going to ask you what did you make last year and how much it cost, and you never told the IRS about it. No, that doesn't work. Understand that the way you should have been accounting for this is that your earnings from Uber Lyft should be on your Schedule C. It should be on your Schedule C to your personal tax return, and I don't care if they don't send you a 1099. You do it based upon your pay stubs, your transactional receipts. So if you made $3,000 last year, $3,000 in the Schedule C. Line 1, revenue, $3,000. How much is the cost of goods sold? Well, you need to tell them tell on the Schedule C, line 2, what the cost of goods sold is, and you put it in there. Some viewers think the cost of goods sold is always zero. I mean, you are just, you need to stop smoking that stuff. It's just like, cost of goods sold is not always zero. Cost of services sold is not always zero. And some people just think it's always zero. Okay, yeah, I'll visit you in jail. That is that. Now, when you're going to do the calculation when you're trying to submit to SBA the numbers for the business for Larry's Plumbing LLC, is that his name? It was Mike. I should have just had Nancy. Mike's Plumbing LLC. Then it's, again, line 1, line 2 of the 1120S if you're a Schedule S corporation. The flies are just eating me up alive tonight. And that is the number you use. Line 1, gross rev. Line 2, cost of goods sold. Very, very, very simple. Then you're going to go through the series of questions, and they're going to ask who owns the LLC. That's you. What's your social security number? That's you. So don't worry about that. That causes some confusion for viewers. And finally, you're done. Both of them can apply. Both of them have different accounting. Both of them different revenue, different cost of goods sold, different, they're just different. And ultimately, you'll get approved for both of them. There is nothing different about one versus the other. Now, one of the last questions I often get is, well, is my credit going to be pulled for the business? Of course. So I'm going to get my credit pulled twice, once for the business, once for me. Yes, absolutely true. That's what's going to happen. A lot of good fun, a lot of great help. If you have questions to EIDL, drop them in the comments below so I have something to talk about tomorrow. Otherwise, I may just, I don't know, drive up and say hello to Nancy or something. Coming up tomorrow morning, and mornings at LALATE is 8:30 a.m. We'll be talking more about the stimulus check and what's going on with a push to really do a standalone bill. Go to the front of the channel, hit that subscribe and alert button. They're right next to each other. They're really close together, unlike Nancy and Steve, and they're right there. So hit them one, hit the other. It's like, Space Invaders. And that way you'll get an alert every time a new video goes live. And I can communicate with you. You can communicate with me. And thank you for making this community grow, helping this community grow. And have a great evening. See you tomorrow morning on Mornings LLA.